In this section, we will learn about how to switch activities in Android and to pass data between them. So let us see what an indent is. An indent is an asynchronous message object which you can use to request an action from another app component. For example, in a calculator app, suppose the first activity has a button called click to start, and when the user clicks the button, the indent takes you to the second activity and corresponding screen. That means the indent is used to communicate between Android components like to start an activity, to start a service, and to deliver a broadcast. An indent contains the following: a component name, action, data, extras, category, and flags. Now let us look the type of indents. There are two types of indents: explicit indents and implicit indents. The first type is the explicit indents. Here it is used to start a component in your own app and destination activity is known. Now let us see the mechanism of it. For example, if an activity A of an app calls start activity method, which in turn calls indent, and the indent calls the onCreate method of activity B of the same app. Okay, so we create an object of an indent which has the arguments, context, and the URL of the second activity dot class. Here you can see we have created an object of indent I and which is having two arguments, context and the URL of the second activity, and we pass and we send the message using put extra method and create a key and a value. This value will be stored in the key, and this key will be used in the second activity where we will get this content 1 or hello. Okay, so we are having a put extra function which is having two arguments, key and a value, and this value will be stored inside the key, and this key will be passed to the second activity. Okay, we will start this activity using start activity method and pass with parameter indent. Here you can see here we will start the activity using the start activity function, and we are passing the object in, which is getting into the second activity. Okay, now we are using, so we have to go to the second activity next. Okay, so now we are going to get the indent by using the get indent dot get extra method. Here we can see a get extra method, get indent and get extra method. So in dot, that is get inside the object in, we are having the get indent function, and in dot get ind extra. So we are going to the indent by using the get indent dot get extra method. We are going to save this message in a bundle object like this. You can see here I have created a bundle object extras, and I'm saving this get indent dot get extra message to this bundle object. Okay, so bundle, what is a bundle? Bundle is used to share data between activities. We have to register our activity in the manifest file. Okay, so we have to register our activity in the manifest file. You can see here we have to register the activity. We have two activities. If it is explicit activity, we are having two activities, and we have to register that activity in the manifest file. Okay, the first activity is already registered by default. Here you can see it is already registered by default, and the second activity we should be registered. For that, select the element activity under the first activity. Here after this you have to select the second activity element and give the name of the second activity. For example, dot second activity, like this itself, activity Android name dot main activity, like this. You have to specify under this. After closing this activity, you have to start a new element activity Android name is equal to dot second activity. Whatever the name of your second activity file, you have to give it in the attribute Android : name is equal to. Okay, so that is all about explicit indents. Okay, now let's move on to the implicit indents. Okay, so implicit indent is used to start a component from another app. Suppose we have two applications, app 1 and app 2. So activity A of app 1 calls start activity, in turn calls indent, and indent communicates with the Android system. The Android system then passes the message to another indent which calls on which calls on create method of activity A of app2. Okay, so here you can see, for example, the following tells the Android system to view a web page. Here you can see we have created an object of intent, and it has the arguments intent action view and the URI pass dot of HTTP, which tells the Android system to view a web page. Okay. So intent filters we have already seen in the previous modules. What is an intent filter? Which tells the Android activities that can handle which actions. Okay, that is intent filters, and the explicit intent is having intent resolution. Intent resolution means when an Android is given an intent, it has to figure out which activity or activities are able to handle it. This process is known as intent resolution, and explicit intent is having intent resolution is straightforward, and implicit intent, Android uses the information in the intent to figure out which components are able to receive it, and we are checking this by checking the intent filters in every app's copy of Android manifest file. So this is an example of intent, and this is manifest file.xml, and this is an example for implicit intent, and this is another example for explicit intent. Okay, so this is all about intents. Now let's move on to broadcast receivers. Okay, so in this section we will first start what is a broadcast. Okay, so broadcasting is like when I'm speaking to you, you were all listening. Okay, that is known as broadcast. In a similar way, Android is also having broadcast receivers. For example, when your phone battery turns low, some applications automatically turned off. You are not able to adjust screen brightness. Also, we are not able to turn on the Gmail sync. It turned off automatically. Why? To save the battery. So how it happens? Android has some by default broadcast receivers that are created, like for example incoming SMS, battery low, etc. are all broadcast receivers. So how this broadcast receiver works? We define our broadcast receiver in the manifest file and tell what action to occur. So let's see what is a broadcast receiver simply. It responds to broadcast messages from other applications or from the system itself, and these messages are sometimes also called events or intents. Okay, for example, applications can also initiate broadcasts to let other applications know that some data has been downloaded to the device and is available for them to use. So this is broadcast receiver who will intercept this communication and will initiate appropriate action. Okay, so this is all what you mean by a broadcast receiver. So there are following two important steps that makes the broadcast receiver works. That the first one is creating the broadcast receiver and registering the broadcast receiver. So let's see how to create the broadcast receiver. I have made a Java file named myReceiver which extends broadcast receiver. You can see here I have created a class named myReceiver which extends the broadcast receiver class, and by doing this it will automatically tells you to override the method onReceive, which is having two arguments, the context and the intent. Okay, so whenever this myReceiver gets activated, the onReceive method is executed, and here I have performed a tossed message. Okay, you can see that. You can also do, like for example, some applications that fetch your SMS and check for the OTP. You can detect the phone call, or if you want to build app like incoming call blocker, how you do that? You check for the onReceive of your call in the onReceive method and you will automatically disconnect the call. The flow comes in the manifest file. We have a receiver element, and the intent filter lets you know when you fire the broadcast receiver, and here we define the action. Okay, so here you can see in the manifest file we have performed or tells the action to be performed. We have a receiver element here in the manifest file, and we have tells the receiver, which is my receiver, that is myReceiver, and we have telling the intent filter, which action to be performed. Here it is actually we are having the android.intent.action.boot completer. That means the phone has been booted completely, and fire the myReceiver class from the myReceiver it will firing the onReceive method, and here it fires the toast message. I have performed the action which I want to perform is to perform a toast message. So this is the so here you can see a figure. This is the Android broadcast receiver. So there is an Android system and a broadcast receiver, and this broadcast receiver, it registers basically for intents to observe something, and if the intent has occurred, the system notifies the broadcast receiver. This is the idea of the broadcast receiver. Okay, so this is all about broadcast receiver. Here you can see registering the broadcast receiver programmatically. We are using the same intent filter. I have already mentioned about this in the manifest file. We have sent it, and how to register the broadcast receiver using the explicit broadcast intents. Here you can use the send broadcast method. If you notice, we actually create implicit intents so that multiple registered receivers could receive them when dispatched using send broadcast method. So here you can see, using the intent object, we have to pass that intent. Okay, so to the myReceiver class using the send broadcast method. So as a conclusion, we have seen what is a service and what is a broadcast. Service is if you want to do something in the background, this will be running always in the background even if the application is closed, and you can create this in separate process, and also you can give your service to other app if you want. Downloading any content or music is a good example. We have already seen the service in the last slide, and broadcast receiver is usually system will send some information which can be received by your app if you would wish to by registering, and you can do something what you want when that thing happens by using onReceive method. Example is a system will send broadcast receiver when new SMS arrives or booting is done. So this is all about broadcast receivers and intents. Thank you.